The Roman Catholic Church, one of the oldest and certainly the most populous denomination in Christianity. According to Catholic teaching, the Church has roots that go directly back to the original apostles of Jesus Christ, and the Pope is traditionally considered the successor to St. Peter himself. With a heritage like that, it makes sense that the Catholic Church is a bastion of Christian tradition. Roman Catholics have been known to have a fairly adverse relationship with change. That's why figures like Pope Francis are so controversial. Francis's ethos clearly reflects the sentiment of the Second Vatican Council of the 1960s. That was the council that finally allowed for the Roman Catholic Mass to happen in the vernacular languages rather than the traditional Latin. Vatican II was a council that wanted to revamp the Church for the modern world, and Pope Francis is clearly a leader who wants to revamp the Church for the modern human. He has adopted tolerant stances regarding the many Muslim migrants flooding into Europe. He has employed subversively welcoming rhetoric when it comes to the Church's relationship with individuals in the LGBT community, and he has worked to spread awareness about climate change. He has also expressed his desire for women to have more roles as leaders in the Catholic Church, and the action springing from that desire is what we're going to discuss today. Recently, in August, Pope Francis appointed a commission to study the possibility of ordaining female deacons in the Church. This is a huge deal. For all of Catholic history, the ranks of ordained clergy, including deacons, priests, and bishops, have been filled by men. Ordaining women as deacons in the Church would totally upheave that system, and perhaps even open the door to discuss the possibility of ordaining women as priests. And while this commission is in no way a guarantee that female ordination into the diaconate will happen, it starts a pretty revolutionary conversation and has some pretty amazing potential to change things. In general, conservative Catholics will argue that women cannot be ordained clergy because that would not be the Church that Christ set up. The 12 apostles that Jesus appointed were men, after all, and any of the female deacons mentioned in early church history were either not technically ordained or subservient to the male deacons. But of course, not all Catholics feel this way. Many Catholics, particularly in America, are very open to the idea of female ordination. After all, there is an impressive amount of historical precedence for women serving as deacons or in other leadership roles in the early church. Look no further than Phoebe, a woman labeled as a deacon by St. Paul in the book of Romans. There are countless other examples as well. Nicole Flores, a professor of religion at UVA and a Roman Catholic woman, elaborated on the diaconal history of women in a Q&A after Pope Francis's commission was announced. Women have always had some form of leadership in the Church, both in New Testament Christianity and throughout what Christian theology calls salvation history. The most obvious example is Mary of Nazareth, who played an indispensable leadership role of service and ministry. Catholic women also have a long tradition of social leadership and service, whether as nuns, mystics, theologians, liturgists, or social advocates. The word deacon, derived from Greek, simply means to serve, minister to, or to serve at the table. So women's leadership through church history and today has been definitionally diaconal. Women have always been engaged in ministries of service. Phyllis Sagano is another female professor of religion based at Hofstra University, who has written numerous books on women in the Church and has argued for the ordination of female deacons in the past. She is one of 2 Americans serving on Pope Francis's new commission, and she is also in the camp that marks the historical precedence of female deacons. History clearly demonstrates that women served in the diaconate. The pressing question is whether women can be admitted to the sacramental ordination as deacons. So, it seems that the argument isn't over whether women can be deacons. They've been deacons throughout history. The argument is over whether or not they can be technically ordained. And when we look at all the amazing ways that women have served the Church as leaders throughout history, it seems to me that the only argument against female ordination among conservative Catholics is, but we've always done it this way. And I get it. Change can be super uncomfortable. That's the reason why the powers that be in the first century weren't too happy about Jesus of Nazareth. But in this case, I think change is something we can get behind. And you don't have to be Catholic or even religious to agree with me on this. The lack of ordained female leadership in the Roman Catholic Church is just one of many examples of women being left behind in the modern workforce. This commission is a chance to begin to change that, even if women are just ordained as deacons at first. So, to sum it up, I'm really excited about the prospects of Pope Francis's new and controversial commission because, to paraphrase a statement from an American feminist Catholic organization called the Women's Ordination Conference, until women are included in all decision-making structures and as ordained ministers of the Church, equality remains painfully denied.